This is Too Long for a Voice Note, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time, presented by Claire
and Enzo. Our podcast is produced in London. Some conversations are just too long for a voice note.
Hey, he's Enzo.
And she's Claire.
And this is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
We
Welcome
are back. Yes, it's us.
Ooh. First time recording for a while.
Long time. How are you? This is like a long time. Well, before starting the chitty chat and then blah, 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 blah. Thank you for watching or listening. If this is the first time you're checking our podcast, remember to subscribe or like, because you're going to like the future anyway.
For sure,
So you need to subscribe. That's what I'm telling you.
Exactly.
That you like everything.
Subscribe.
But if you've been here before, just thank you.
Yeah,
and keep coming back.
Exactly.
And welcome back. Yes. I'm like so excited to film again. It feels like I mean, it's like winter now. I didn't feel the last time we filmed it was kind of like summertime.
It was summer.
And now we are kind of like winter time.
Exactly,
But it's suddenly we're close to your birthday, my birthday, Christmas. Things happen. Sagittarius season. We're like, whatever. I'm sorry, but I think everyone is happy that Scorpio season is over.
Oh
Thank
my God,
you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Sorry if you're a Scorpio, but bye. It's like,
Exactly.
the season needs to be over now. But very good.
Yeah,
we're good. Like working things, like looking forward. What's coming? I mean, it's a lot of things happening in the world right now.
A lot has happened.
This year is a bit like eventful, I would say, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see what 2023 holds, but a couple of months until we get there.
Yeah, but I think lots of things happening, things happening, I don't know, with women rights, with Twitter, with this and that.
Yeah.
And, I don't know,
it feels like a lifetime since we last filmed.
Yeah,
it's
kind of like
things have changed.
Why we haven't, a lot.
Either way, we're back.
We're back.
It's my week this week, right? So are we ready for
Claire's secret topic of the week.
Okay, so it's my time for the secret topic.
Why you have this evil look? What's going on?
I think this is a cracking topic.
You're like so great. Like the topics I get to choose, I'm so amazing. Like, guys.
This is something that we actually have discussed a few weeks ago now.
Okay.
But I don't think you'll be expecting it.
No, I think we discussed so many stuff.
We really
so
do.
Much
We really do, exactly. It's just like next one. Next one out.
Okay.
So I want to talk a bit about how to phrase this. I want to talk a bit about language and if you can truly connect with somebody who doesn't have the same mother tongue as you.
I don't know why I have this kind of like baseball stadium sound in my brain today, but that's what we're gonna go. It's like, yeah.
You turn into like a sports bro,
like the World Cup.
The least sports bro person ever.
Literally.
I
really
thought this would be an interesting topic for us, as we are obviously
100%.
very close friends, and we have different mother.
Are we
we have a different mother tongue. Enzo's first language is Spanish. Espanol, Latino gang, represent.
Yes.
Mine is English. I'm trying with my English. And obviously we communicate in English.
Yeah.
So that we're both actually in relationships with people that have different mother tongues to us as well. Yeah. So that is something that I was wondering about. I have an article that I will be referencing through the episode. But before we get into that, let's just get your...
We get articles and reference.
Exactly. But I just wanted to get your kind of initial thoughts on, can you truly express, because you spend a lot of your time expressing yourself in a different language. So do you think that you can, first of all? That's kind of what this topic is
This is
about.
a really, really, really good one, honestly.
Thank
you. like yes, and so you don't have to say it, but thank you for saying it. I think it's interesting because I think, and there's some, this takes me back when I moved here to London, because I felt for a long time that I wasn't fully myself. It's like I wasn't myself, guys. I don't know who I was. No, it's like it was this period of time where you're adapting and you're learning how to express in a different language. It's kind of like at the beginning it's really difficult to express yourself in the way you do it normally. You know what I mean? It's kind of like weird because, and maybe I don't know, you like Spanish and you know a lot of Spanish, but one day if you really try to learn or to speak fully in Spanish, you understand me maybe better, because it's kind of thing of like, you don't know how to express everything you are in that different language.
I was gonna say, yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, and it took me a while to feel that I was fully myself in English. Like nowadays, I can feel that I'm the same in Spanish and English, but there's like a brain connection or something there when you're trying to express yourself in a different language, that at the beginning, it's like I was not, of course it comes because you can express all the words you want to, or you still don't know how to translate your emotion from one language to others, because that's the thing as well, like.
Well, that was something that I found I was going to ask you about, because in this article that I read, that I'm going to link in the show notes, they basically said that there can be a lot of positives and obviously negatives as well to having, for example, like a bilingual relationship or friendship.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the positives in a bit, but to kind of go off of what Enzo said, one of the drawbacks is that the article says couples who are fluent in the same language can struggle with sharing meaning in their conversations. This can lead to miscommunication and escalate into feelings of disconnection or even arguments. It can also be frustrating, with partners sometimes feeling that they haven't been listened to and truly heard, especially when the topic of conversation is important and emotive. So that kind of goes into what you were saying, because I can imagine that, for example, like so often, just in English, it's really hard for you, and you probably feel the same in Spanish. Sometimes you feel something, but you can't really put it into words.
Yeah.
So therefore, for you having like the extra layer of trying to, first of all, you need to put it into words in Spanish in your head, and then you need to put it in English. And I think often, like you say, like, I just don't know what that word is in English. Like, there isn't really, because I think
maybe there's not that word in English even. That's
exactly.
The thing. And you try to find like the closest one, but then
it's not quite the thing.
And I think that still happens to me nowadays. I think like now I feel I know better. It's kind of like the magic of translators and translation overall, because it's about like how to translate feeling the closest to the original one, and the kind of like sometimes I feel like something in Spanish that means 4 or 5 different things in one, maybe that's not in English, and still it's kind of like you're always looking for something that gets the closest to. But I do feel like, for example, like speaking with people, like for example, we talk a lot, and I can now pick things better from your language now, because knowing you pretty well, I know what you feel with one word, for example, let's say. And now that helps me to understand what to say to be closer to that, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a practice. You need to practice, basically.
It's true.
So the more you speak, and the more you speak, I think the more you speak people that's their mother tongue, the language, that makes it better. For example, me, like, I know, like speaking with you, it's your language that helps me. To understand better and to speak better English, because
I get you.
It's kind of like the nuance kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like that thing, like it's quite interesting. Like I feel how you ever feel like you not being really understood, because most of your friends that don't speak English as a first language,
it's true.
Most of them now are like all little Latinos around the world, so someone from Spain or somewhere, you know what I mean? It's like someone from Mexico, it's like different people from different places as well. So have you ever felt like not understood properly, or that your message is not coming across exactly, or maybe you're like, oh, maybe that person didn't actually get me properly.
Trying to explain to a Spanish speaker.
Yeah,
definitely. I definitely.
You're like,
think
and
so.
so all the fucking time. I'm speaking with you, and it's kind of like
yesterday,
the
day before, then the day before
Monday.
that. Last week, that thing as well. There's a really cute story that we have, from which I think it was not really about not being understood, but I think at the beginning of our friendship, this is really funny. So it was like the 3rd time we were trying to hang out, and it was Christmas. And Enzo was coming to my house for like some gathering, and he was like, can I bring something? And I said, can you please bring some nipples? So I misspelled nibbles, and I just wrote, please bring some nipples. And then so I typed, it was like silent, and then I typed in like British snack nipples. I was like, I'm really sorry for the ignorance, but what exactly is a nipple? And I was like, oh my god, so funny. It's so hilarious. So we're always like, he gets the nipples and everything, but
because it's funny.
It's funny.
And it was very like it's been still not my first years in London, but maybe I didn't have a lot of experience with someone asking me, requesting nibbles, you know?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
for me it was like, now
because
of course.
a Brit would obviously be like, she means nibbles. She just
Exactly.
misspelled it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of like misunderstanding, I think so.
Feeling misunderstood, maybe.
Feeling misunderstood, like
this little bitch is not getting my point.
Yeah, and I think also kind of like that goes back to the article as well, that in a way I what they said in the article is that it can actually be a real positive to be in a bilingual relationship, because you have to try quite hard to explain yourself, and it's like, not that of course your English is such a high standard, it's not like I have to like speak slowly, but like, for example, I think if you're expressing something that's quite big, then you might, not with you, but with like other friends, you know, like sometimes I need to actually really like think clearly about what I'm saying, and I think that is actually a positive. Think very clearly about the words that you're using, and not in like a condescending way at all, but in a way that I think that you probably
less automatic.
Exactly, you probably feel that in Spanish as well. You're just like blah 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 blah, and then maybe you mind your words a bit more in English.
Makes sense.
But actually, to go back to the article, they were saying actually it's a real positive. Because you really think, and again, I think with us, we do really like to communicate clearly. We have a podcast that we like to talk.
Hopefully we like to communicate.
Exactly. But like, I think we really do think about the way that we say things, and I wonder how different that would be if I was fluent in Spanish or you were English was your first language.
Even more messier. Imagine like what we will say.
The horror. Like, can you imagine if the speed of everything?
You know, that will be, well, it is already a lot. Thinking about like relationships, feelings, and all of that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny because since I'm here, I mean, I've had relationships with people that speaks in English.
Yeah, your relationships.
Yeah. Well, I mean, have people guys that were Spanish, so that was, which actually is funny because it's very straight. It's very like interesting because it was very direct communication. But what I feel interesting is that people I've been dating, or I'm dating right now, it's like English is not even their first language. So
it's so interesting.
It's kind of like we both need to translate to this common language and speak there.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? It's kind of like
because
it's not like you are English speaking and I'm the only one translating to speak with you. Also, the other person is.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like double challenge, right? Because from that side and this side.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, because have you ever found that? Like, I mean, it's hard to say, right, I think in terms of a relationship, because you're dealing with like a new person, so you can't really say that these issues wouldn't be, you know, say you have like a problem with communication, you can't really say, it's because like his mother tongue is not that, my mother tongue is not that, we're speaking in it. Because it could be completely the same if you were both speaking in Spanish. True. You'll never know.
You never know.
Because that's what the cards that you're dealt kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, I thought about this like many times, like how crazy is that you spend so many years or whatever is the length of your relationship with someone and you both don't speak the same language. And it's kind of like, if you think about it, how many things are maybe missed in the middle of it? How many messages, how many like things like thoughts, how many like, I don't know, it could be, maybe there are not that many, maybe yes, I don't know, but it's kind of like unsettling feeling now that I think about it.
So going back to this article, they said that if you think about it, language is one form of communication. You communicate through a million different ways.
So a good point.
I have dated English guys and it's like not as nearly the same kind of level of connection.
How interesting.
So, and I wonder if that's something that's been reflected with your relationships as well.
I think like the thing is like, it's a really, really good point. And I think in my case, I wouldn't be able to tell 100% because I feel like the time in my life where I had relationships where I speak with both Spanish speakers, there was a different moment in my life that I was younger, more immature, and there were like things that are different now. And the two relationships I have after that are just with speaking in English, I'm kind of like a different person in a way because I'm grown up and like different situations of life as well. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think the comparison, it could be a bit unfair in that sense because I don't know if it affects who I am now and in the point of my life and now, or just the language as well.
I get you.
But for example, right now I feel like I have no issues to communicate what I feel at all.
No.
Because also the person I'm dating is very well spoken in English.
Yeah,
so
exactly, yeah.
there's no like another layer of like not able to communicate kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But as you say, it's also about the person. It's a good point. Yeah.
That's the thing, because have you ever felt that you have found it hard to express your feelings in English?
I think we're speaking this recently. Like, I do feel right now, I don't know if it's right now, it's something that actually, because again, where I am at now and like because I think I was very young when I came to London, and it was in this process when I was very young. I was like 25, 26, well, very young. Yeah, quite young. And kind of like I developed and become like an adult in English. So I feel for me, it's at this point, I think sometimes it's easier for me to express my feeling in English than in Spanish, which is funny, but I think it's because maybe it's like an automatic response or something, because Spanish for me is when I was younger, and that was the way that was very different. Now that I've learned all of these things were in English. So it's kind of like...
So interesting.
How, for me, expressing things in English now is so much easier, especially emotionally. I have no issue. While in Spanish, I don't know if because it's more connected to something else, or maybe because it's like connected to who I was before. That sounds very dramatic, who I was before, but I meant when I was younger, kind of thing. So it's kind of like more difficult to express what I feel, or maybe because I express less my emotions in Spanish than in English now, because my surroundings are in English. It's quite interesting. It's kind of like I don't know. I do feel like in English right now I have no issues expressing at least my emotions. I don't feel I feel like I have more tools to express myself. And I think like, well, having a podcast probably a testimony of that. True. Like, I have no issues to talk bullshit in English, basically. Right. But I have like a funny story about the translate. It's like, it's funny because it includes Rosalia. But it was a guy I was dating, and we were listening to the El Mal Querer album. That's Rosalia's second album, very successful album, blah, blah. You need to listen to it if you haven't.
Oh my God, yeah, come on. Come on if you haven't listened to it.
But it was interesting because I was trying to translate to him the lyrics of the song, and it was so hard especially because the Spanish used in these songs of Rosalia are very like, has a mix of like traditional, it has many layers. It has traditions, it has like, the way you say some things mean other things. It's not literal, the translation is very poetic. So to translate that in English, it kind of makes no sense sometimes. And it's kind of funny. It's like a funny moments, but also very struggling, because I was trying to translate these lyrics and trying to translate the feeling of what she was trying to say, and it was almost impossible. Yeah. Because kind of like the words she was putting in these lyrics, they are not facts. It's not like this doing that means that. It was more ways to say something to evoke a feeling. So it's difficult, and it was funny because it kind of like the other person who was not getting it. It was I don't understand what you're trying to say. It's like, well, but you need to see like this is like how also we speak in Spanish sometimes, and how poetry is, which is like it has a different way to express. Where in English is more direct and more like concise. Maybe it's more like straightforward. In Spanish, maybe the same. It's not straight. It's more like expression, so that's why in a moment I struggle to express not what I was feeling maybe, but the feelings of someone else, funnily. And I'm trying to say like in songs that were very like about heartbreak and like emotions, it's kind of like, wow, how can I translate this? And when I look up online the translation of these songs in English, I'm like, half of this is missing. That they're missing. You're not getting their messages that are missing, but you only will understand if you understand Spanish. But in English, that makes sense. Yeah. It's interesting hard.
Though, but I think like poetry is a really good example of that, because it's, again, like you said, it's not really about you expressing your feelings, it's about somebody else expressing their feelings. And I think poetry is like that. That's why people study poetry and language, because it's like interpretation. And only Rosalia can probably tell you, that's what I meant when I wrote that song. True. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit like, I think in English as well, I will struggle to tell you like what that poet meant. I'll be like, I think this is what I take from that, but I don't know, does like saying that really like resonate with you? Because I'm not quite sure.
True.
You know what I mean? So I think that would be kind of maybe like quite a universal thing.
Makes sense.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
But I think also in a language like Spanish, there are lots of different words for the same thing.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we have in English, you know?
That's why English is like so useful. That's what I think I heard that a lot people saying that English is so like useful. That's why it's so universal, because it makes so much sense. Once you get it, it's kind of logic. It's very logical. That's the thing.
Yeah.
In the construction, I mean, from a point of view of someone, maybe for you it's like, well, yeah, I guess. But I guess most of the things in English are so like logical that it's easier for more people to understand it, because it's kind of like clearer messages. In Spanish, I think it's so easy to like go in a tangent or like go in a weird way, or kind of like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, like, I mean, it's something different. Nothing is better or worse. It's just like a different way of express. And then, of course, if you go to other languages, I don't know, Japanese, like, wow, a different word. Like, you express things with symbols and like characters, and kind of like how you translate that to a whole feeling, you know, like.
I think what's really interesting here, it's kind of like wrapping up the topic, is kind of about like, which I didn't really think about until we had this conversation about like how much your identity is linked to your language. Because like, I know you said at the beginning, like when you first moved to the UK, you found it difficult to like make yourself your full self in English. But do you feel like you're different in Spanish at all? Or like, do you feel like you're like a different Enzo? But then how much of that is like cultural? Because I was going to say, how different are you with like your Venezuelan friends, who are also all my friends as well? But if you're speaking in Spanish, do you feel different? Do you act different or not?
I do feel pretty much myself in both languages now, obviously now, but I do believe there's a slightly change with the language, because as you say, which is very true, it makes a lot of sense, like language is also built on culture, like references, like ways you say things and express, so that it's there when you speak the other language. You have all this set of things that comes with the language you're speaking. That makes total sense. And I do believe, obviously, from my point of view now, I feel like I'm totally the same. Also because I can speak, I don't know, we can be with our friends speaking in Spanish and I can switch in English like straight away because you're coming in. And that I'm not changing my thoughts, or I'm not changing what I'm saying. Yeah. For me, in my brain now, it's the same, just in a different code. But now it's kind of like in a different code, and I'm not changing. I'm not even thinking for a second I need to change what I'm saying for you to understand it. Yeah. No, it's kind of like automatic. Yeah. But I'm sure when I'm like longer periods of time with speaking Spanish, there must be things of me that are different, I'm sure. Because as you say, like there's cultural things. There are things that you say in your language that you wouldn't say in English, kind of thing. Expressions, words. So I guess so. But again, at the same time, I do feel more comfortable now speaking about my feelings in English.
So
which is funny,
isn't it?
Which is very funny. Like, honestly, I can just speak my feelings in this language better. I don't know if better is a word, but quicker or more assertive,
more ease to it.
And
it is interesting, probably maybe because you became a proper adult in the UK.
Yeah,
you're basically a Londoner now, and so
yes, guys,
literally, it's like it's happened.
I'm a Londoner. Like, I'm afraid to tell you all I'm a Londoner. How you feel like so far since you're in a relationship with someone who speaks Spanish, like? Something specific that it's kind of like, or funny or difficult, kind of like, wow, this is kind of, or that you have spot about the communication, like. You date before people like speak another languages, which I think in the past there were funny things.
I love a hottie with an accent.
Yeah, right. Like it is what it is. But actually, I think I remember you had like you telling me things that the other person was telling you in the morning, and it's kind of like haha lol because what they're trying to say, or you asking me like what is that to say here?
Exactly.
Do you think this is what I mean?
Yeah, because I definitely dated somebody like not now, the person I'm in a relationship with, but before, like his English wasn't that good, so I think it was a bit like and so what's he trying to say kind of thing.
And I remember being like,
I know what he's trying to say.
Because I had been in that position saying that thing in that way, because that's how you learn when your English is not that maybe advanced or whatever you want to call.
Yeah.
So that's how you will say it, because maybe you're translating it straight from Spanish to English.
Exactly.
That's quite an interesting thing, honestly. Yeah.
But in this relationship, no, definitely no, not at all. I think, what was your actual question again? How
kind of like if there's something like, if you have spot something funny or difficult, weird about like being with someone speaking a different language, of like anything in particular you can recall, maybe.
No, I really don't think so. I really don't think so, because I think in a way, like when you're in a relationship with somebody, you're getting to know them, the different ways. Like it's not really like, it's kind of like the same at the end of the day. Like I don't really view being in a relationship with somebody whose first language isn't English as an issue, because it's just like it will be literally the same. Because actually, like of course, like his English is really good, so it's not like there's no issue there. But it's like in terms of like what you actually care about getting to know somebody is like for us becoming friends. It's like you don't really care about the you being like, oh, I don't really know that word in English. What is it? Then
that
it's
won't
actually
really affect, like,
no. It's like what you care about is like their views on things, like their reaction to you, like all of that kind of stuff. And that's not really that.
Yeah, I guess it's more to like, well, at the end it's more like about the heart.
It's true.
In friendship or relationship, it's about like what the other person vibes,
the
energy.
It is all about energy in a way.
Yeah.
Because we have like, you're like Enzo's somebody that I've told stuff to that I've never told another human being in the world stuff before. He can release them.
I release a memoir in the future.
Just the click of one button.
We're gonna create like a fake fight, and then I'll read my memoir, and like a best-selling book, and then
the memoir. Let's be clear. Reveal
her true self. Who is she really is? Yeah.
But so it's like not really about that. It's about like, and I wasn't like, oh, this bitch who speaks Spanish, like I'm not going to be able to express myself. It's more about this is a person that I love, that I can trust, that like I know he's going to be okay to understand what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, I think I didn't realize until maybe them being in a relationship with somebody who speaks Spanish. It's like, oh, that's really not an issue for me at all. But then again, I'm the one speaking in the language that's preferred. So you'd have to ask him. I guess if like
poor person, honestly, it's like there's so many things like in disadvantage even with the language, right? I'm telling you, like bless him.
But I think that's pretty much everything. I think we've covered everything. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Enzo?
I think it's a fascinating topic, and I do wonder if like, and please, if you're watching or listening, and if you want to share this, if you ever felt like maybe like, I wouldn't have a relationship with someone that speaks a different language because I wouldn't be able to communicate properly. Like, have you ever felt that? Like, have you ever felt like maybe you're like, oh no, or you're kind of like, stop.
It's interesting, I have to say, because as I said, like I tend to date, and now I'm in a relationship with someone, like it's different language, it's always been the thing. But a lot of my British friends have said to me like, oh my god, no, like how can you get serious with someone who doesn't,
it's a true fear that people has, like, oh, how can I communicate? But it's quite interesting, like as you're saying, like in your experience at least, it's been proved many times, in my experience as well, like it's proved many times that it's not really about that at the end, like it's not really about the language, because at the end I feel like as long as, and there's something like one friend of ours always said, as long as the message can come across, it's fine, like maybe the grammar is not perfect, maybe this is not the correct thing, but as long as the message go to want to be, and the other person understands it, that's what it takes, you know what I mean, like And I guess some people are afraid of like, oh, how are going to be the person doesn't express exactly what it means. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You can always improve your language. I can always learn Spanish if needs be. Like if Enzo has like a stroke and like forgets his English, I can learn Spanish and be like, hola, soy yo, soy Claire.
Oh no!
For example,
no. You never know. You make up hand.
So that's the thing. You can learn a language, but you can't. You can learn. Let's get this on a T-shirt. You can learn a language. You can't fake a connection.
I love that.
It's
I love
so
that
true,
T-shirt.
right?
Like there's some hippie shit at the end of the episode. You're welcome. You know.
But guys, I mean,
I love it. Really, it's a really interesting topic, and I think
We'll be thinking about it for a while.
Yeah, I think if really like share if you're gonna share with someone that speaks a different language,
if
how
you
it's
communicate
been,
in a different language,
or if you feel any type of fear of trying to get into one because of this. So maybe after this episode, people will be like, oh, I'm gonna date someone from a different country,
exactly,
with a different language.
Like, I'm opening up
opening up the doors for people. Like, don't be afraid to share to. Get with someone with a different language.
Exactly.
It's fine. You just need to try.
Like, you deserve
Certified. You deserve it. Certified by us. You're gonna be okay.
Exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Listening.
Please just remember what everything was said.
Subscribe, like, share everything. Drop us a comment, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.